Welcome to a wet, windy, noisy adventure in the Calumet wilderness with Sam Love. I am your host, Sam Love. We are out here at the confluence of Dunes Creek and Lake Michigan. It's in the Indiana Dunes State Park. And I'm gonna go inland because it's very cold. You know, stuff like this pisses me off. Hard to believe that this was once part of the parking lot, because I think this is one of the most beautiful little restored areas and creeks in the region. In 2006, the daylighting project, as they called it, removed part of the surface lot and restored the creek, the banks, few wetlands, and it really is, I think, one of the most beautiful little areas out here. I have no problem paying taxes to the state for stuff like this, and an entry fee. Now I got the annual card, totally worth it. So we can see today that the wind and waves are pushing Dunes Creek inwards instead of it usually emptying into Lake Michigan. Much more peaceful back here, although there is some noise. You can probably hear there's trucks shifting sand. You gotta create all those fake sand dunes for all the tourists that are gonna come in here. I find it so amazing and interesting in this small, probably half a mile, the creek has so many facets to it. I mean, back here behind the main dunes, it's quiet, there's barely any current. It just sort of meanders through. It's peaceful back here, and then you make that curve. You got the parking lot, and there's the dam, and things start to look and sound and feel a little different. Then you get out closer to the beach, and it's almost like an entirely different creek, and you have the effect of the lake and all the wind and the temperature. And small creek, but so many personalities to it. I think it's fascinating. I think there's an art project or a poem or a song or a suite of music or something. So get to it, creative people. Well, starting from the Coles Bog parking lot and working your way east, you can actually traverse the entire course of the east branch of Dunes Creek, from its source in the Great Marsh to its mouth at Lake Michigan. I did this accidentally. This was sort of the earliest part of the Calumet Wilderness Project, when I was looking for these circular hikes that would traverse specific ecoregions, for lack of a better terminology. And always remember that hike. There's so many interesting things. I mean, at one part, the creek runs on both sides of the street. It's just sort of filtered in there, and it doesn't look like a creek. It just looks like you're walking through a wetland, and then ultimately enters into the state park. It goes by the campground over here. I remember that walk. It ended up being, I think, about 8 miles, and I forgot my water that day, but I was so interested in what I was seeing that just pushed through. Well, the Great Marsh once stretched all the way from what is today Michigan City to the east end of Gary. But today, a little different. You'll see a number of these small streams, little runs, as well as there's a few ditches, including one that was decommissioned when this daylighting project happened. And then, of course, there's the two branches of Dune Creek. And for a short creek, it sure does travel a lot of varying ecosystems. I mean, it's practically swamp back here. And then into those secondary dunes and the low marshy areas. And then the next thing you know, the four dunes, and you're out at the beach. You can see why it's one of my favorite little streams out here. Trail 2 through the state park traverses the south bank of Dunes Creek, both branches. So you can see it or the associated wetlands pretty much throughout, and this time of year it's hard to kind of differentiate between the two. It's pretty wet back here. But then on the higher ground, there's so many things blooming. I've seen trilliums, some skunk cabbage, which of course has been growing since winter, a lot of ramps in parts out here, and then these beautiful little spring ephemerals. Well, I jumped in my car before I recorded the closing, so thank you for joining yet another adventure in the Calumet Wilderness. I think this was our first one at the Indiana Dunes State Park. Won't be the last one. In fact, if you're good, I might show you the freeway in here. Although, to be honest, if you do that, you're going to wish you'd paid, be honest. All right, take care till next time.